Last Sunday, I left Kickback Ranch and Event Center in Raymer, Alabama, with more questions than answers about Bertie Bea. I knew I had an appointment with Precision RV later in the week, but after talking with Brenda at the Tiffin Service Center, she encouraged me to have the chassis inspected first. So I drove the 5 hours to Red Bay, and on Monday morning, stopped by the Tiffin chassis shop. As it turned out, they had an opening for Tuesday morning. By the end of that appointment, I'd know something important. Either Bertie Bea's chassis was in good shape, or I'd finally have an answer for the problems I'd been chasing. Last week, we talked about building margin in your life. This week, I got to live that lesson. Instead of rushing from one appointment to the next, I gave myself the time to understand what was really going on with Bertie Bea and begin fixing the things that needed attention. That's what this week's episode is all about.
I'm living the wandering gypsy RV life, rolling smooth beneath.
Welcome back to the Wandering Gypsy RV Life podcast. I'm your host, Stan Cromlish, author of the Rolling Smooth RV book series, coming to you from somewhere out on the open road with my trusty companions, Bertie Bea and Rosie. This podcast is about RV life as it really happens. The miles, the lessons, the unexpected detours, and the stories that remind us this lifestyle isn't about perfection. It's about learning to make good decisions, 1 mile at a time. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's talk a little RV life. This week, I learned a lesson that reminded me why I believe so strongly in the rolling smooth mindset. Sometimes our RV starts telling us something isn't right. The temptation is to immediately assume the worst. Yeah, we've all done it. Been there myself. A strange noise going down the road becomes a transmission. A water drip becomes a rotten roof. A sticking slide becomes a catastrophic failure. Our minds have a funny way of taking a symptom and writing an entire story before we know the facts. This week reminded me not to do that. Many of you may remember an episode I released back in November of 2025 called The Red Bay Difference. That episode was about why Red Bay is such a unique place for Tiffin owners. This week's episode isn't about Red Bay. It's about what Red Bay reminded me. Don't throw parts at symptoms. Diagnose the problem first. When I arrived this week, Bertie Bea had accumulated a full list of questions. The bathroom door had started acting differently. Several bay doors only opened easily when the coach was sitting on leveling jacks. The driver's side hydraulic side occasionally hung during extension. The water pump wasn't behaving the way I expected. The front air conditioner wasn't moving as much air as I thought it should. The rear view camera had developed an intermittent connection. The HWH leveling system had one jack that slowly settled over a couple of days. And after owning Bertie Bea for 3 years, I knew all those symptoms might be related, or they might not. The easiest thing in the world would have been to connect those dots myself. Bathroom door, bay doors. Maybe the chassis is twisting. Maybe a wall has moved. Honestly, That wasn't an unreasonable concern. The symptoms pointed in that direction, but symptoms are not diagnoses. So instead of assuming, which we all know what that means, I went looking for answers. The first stop was the Tiffin chassis shop. They inspected the frame. They found one cracked weld. They repaired it. Then they told me something I'd honestly hoped to hear. The weld wasn't causing the coach to twist. Big relief for me. The chassis wasn't the reason the bathroom door and bay doors were acting the way they were. Immediately, one huge question in my mind disappeared. Then came precision RV. The bathroom door, not a shifted wall, bad hinges. The bay doors just needed an attitude adjustment. The water pump, not bad plumbing, didn't have a leak on the source side. It was a setting that needed to be changed. The front air conditioner, a trusted RV technician suggested a simple airflow baffle that dramatically improved airflow without replacing a single component. The HWH system, all it needed was one small solenoid. The bubble leak test, about a dozen places where air could escape from the interior. Every one of them was sealed before I left. One by one, questions became answers. One thing that really struck me this week was how valuable it is to know the right people. Every technician had a different specialty. No one person tried to be the expert on everything. One understood the chassis, another understood hydraulics, another handled electrical systems, another the coach maintenance. That's another lesson entirely by itself. Networking isn't just good for business, it's good for RV ownership. Knowing who to trust often saves far more money than buying another tool. Something else happened this week that really enforced the rolling smooth mindset. Not every problem deserves the same urgency. For example, my shower door magnetic strip had dry rotted. The door still worked. It just wasn't closing as tightly as it used to. Was it annoying? Absolutely. Was it a safety issue? Not at all. Wasn't even close. So after everything else that I needed and questions answered were under control, I spent about $4 on a replacement magnetic strip and fixed the shower door myself. That's the difference between reacting and prioritizing. This entire trip reminded me of something I think applies to life as much as it applies to our RVs. Don't assume something is a catastrophe until you've learned that it is. Our imagination is incredibly expensive. A sticking door became a twisted chassis. A water pump setting became a plumbing problem. Reduced airflow became an air conditioner replacement. An intermittent leveling jack became a major hydraulic repair. Except None of those stories were true, except in my mind. And none of them were ignored because I investigated them. And here's what I think I will carry with me after this trip. When you have a busy season ahead, like I do this fall, you need to know your RV is going to be right there with you, mile after mile. That confidence doesn't come from hope. It comes from taking the time to give your RV the tender, loving care she needs. It comes from asking questions, finding the right people, getting the right diagnosis, and fixing what actually needs fixing, not what we imagine needs fixing. Will Bertie Bea have another list of questions next year? Probably will have a full list, as usual. She's a 10-year-old coach with over 80,000 miles on her. That's ownership. The goal isn't to eliminate every future problem. The goal is to reduce uncertainty enough that the next good decision becomes obvious. Because in the end, sometimes the best RV diagnosis and repair doesn't just fix your rig, it quiets your mind. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. I'll see you down the road.
With Bertie Bea and Rosie, headed to the next sunrise.
Thank you for riding along with me today for this episode of the Wandering Gypsy RV Life Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with a fellow traveler so more folks can find us out here on the road. You can find more stories, photos, and adventures over at wanderinggypsyrvlife.com. If you're looking for gear that helps keep your rig running right, check out Techno RV through my affiliate link at technorv.com. They really do help you adventure more and worry less. And if you enjoy cowboy storytelling and rodeo history, my good friend Doug Simcox hosts a great podcast called Beyond the Chutes, which is well worth a listen at beyondthechutes.show. If you'd like to dive deeper into the mindset behind this lifestyle, you can check out the Rolling Smooth RV book series at wanderinggypsyrvlife.com/rolling smooth. Until next time, keep your rig rolling smooth, keep your coffee hot, and remember, sometimes the best repair isn't just the one that fixes your RV. It's the one that quiets your mind. Safe travels, my friends. And remember, not all who wander are lost.